Hello, and welcome to Civics 101, a series of workshops developed to help citizens better understand the origins of our government, how it operates, and how you can get involved. Today, in Workshop 1, we're going to discuss foundations of our government. We're going to talk about the U.S. Declaration of Independence, our U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, amendments, branches of government, and the separation of powers. Let's begin by discussing the Declaration of Independence. Exactly what was this document? Well, the Declaration explained why the original 13 colonies regarded themselves as 13 independent sovereign states, and they no longer wanted to be under British rule. With this declaration, these new states took a collective first step towards forming our United States of America. Many of you may know that the Declaration wasn't really signed on July 4th, 1776. The famous painting that we all know about was a bit of an exaggeration. The Continental Congress really declared its freedom from Britain on July 2nd, 1776, when the Congress approved a resolution with a unanimous vote. Then the members of the Congress signed a version of the Declaration in early August of 1776 in Philadelphia. However, the names of the signers weren't even released publicly to 1777. Finally, it was then in July of 1777 that the members of Congress decided, hey, July 4th would be a great day to forevermore celebrate their independence from the British. Now let's talk about our U.S. Constitution. The U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the United States of America. It describes how our government is structured and it operates. It begins with a preamble, which is a brief introductory statement about the Constitution's purpose and principles. Then it covers the 7 articles, which describes our government structure and how it operates, and includes the first 10 amendments that we all know as the Bill of Rights. The 7 articles of the Constitution are: number 1, the executive branch; number 2, the legislative branch; number 3, the judicial branch; number 4, the states, which are the relationship between the state and federal government; number 5, amendments, which describes the amendment process; number 6, debts, supremacy, and oaths, which are the constitutional law of the land and the swearing of oaths. Finally, Article 7 is the ratification, and this details all who signed and represented the original 13 states. You may know that in the Constitution it provides that there be 2 senators that represent us in the U.S. Senate, coming from each of our 50 states. But nowhere in the Constitution does it set the size of the U.S. House of Representatives. That number was set in 1912, and it was set at 435 members, and has been 435 members of the U.S. House of Representatives ever since. The original First Amendment sought to deal with this issue, but interesting enough, it was never ratified by enough states to become part of the Constitution. As you may know, we all celebrate Constitution Day each year on September 17th. That was the day that George Washington signed the letter of transmittal on September 17th, 1787, which sent our new Constitution to the Congress. Now let's talk about the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. The Bill of Rights represents our first steps that we, the people, took in amending our original Constitution in order to form a more perfect union. James Madison, one of the original individuals who helped draft the original Constitution, took it upon himself the task of writing the Bill of Rights. Originally, he wrote 19 amendments, and then it was narrowed down to 17, then 12 by the House and Senate, and finally, the 10 amendments that we know today as the Bill of Rights were ratified on December 15, 1791, and they became part of the Constitution. In 1941, our then President, Franklin Roosevelt, urged all citizens to celebrate the Bill of Rights Day on December 15th. He stated those institutions such as free school, free church, labor unions, the religious, educational, and civic organizations, they never could have existed without the Bill of Rights. Moving on, now let's talk about amendments. What are the amendments to the Constitution? Well, an amendment is a formal change to the text that's written in the Constitution. Interesting enough, our most recent amendment, Amendment 27, which is the Congressional Pay Amendment, originally was written around 1789, and it sat dormant for approximately 202 years because the amendment wasn't ratified by the required 3/4 majority of the U.S. states back then. A student at the University of Texas by the name of Gregory Watson found this proposal in 1982, and because of his strong letter writing advocacy, the Constitution was updated on May 20th, 1992 to include our most recent amendment. Now let's talk about our branches of government. What are our branches of government? They are the executive branch, which includes the president, the vice president, and the members of the cabinet. Then the legislative branch, which is Congress. And Congress includes the Senate and the House of Representatives. And finally, the judicial branch, which includes the Supreme Court and the federal courts. Jeffrey Engel, the director of the Center of the Presidential History at Southern Methodist University, stated, "It is interesting that so much of what we have as law and representation is taken from the examples of Britain. Our U.S. House of Representatives, their House of Commons, represent the common people's interest. And our U.S. Senate, their House of Lords, represents the elites. Very, very interesting. Moving on now, let's talk about the separation of powers. The separation of powers is one of the most important fundamental principles of the Constitution. It ensures the balance and separation of powers among the three branches of government: executive, legislative, and judicial. It provides that we always have checks and balances in our government. Following Britain's lead, the Queen, which might be considered our executive branch, is the head of state, but is also part of Parliament, which is the legislative branch. And she is the fountain of justice, the head of the judicial branch. But she never acts, she never does anything without the advice of her ministers, which are the members of the House of Lords. We followed closely Britain's example. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this presentation of the foundation of our government. If you're interested in more information about the League of Women Voters or would like to join, or you have more questions, please feel free to visit our website at www.lwvmemphisshelby.org or email us at lwvmemphissshelby@gmail.com. We encourage you to do further research about civics to better understand our government at the sites that I've listed below. And also, if you would be interested in listening and watching additional workshops, they will be posted on our website at www.lwvmemphissshelby.org. Thank you for watching and listening today, and I hope you have a great day.